Hello, everybody, and welcome to spine-chilling cybersecurity scenarios and how to avoid them. I am joined by Bharath from Alert Logic. He's going to be helping me work through some of these ultra spooky issues. Thanks for joining, Bharath.
Well, thanks for having me. I couldn't think of anything spookier than me in a Care Bear outfit.
Or should I say, all right, so we've got a really awesome presentation for everybody today. I hope you guys enjoy this. We're trying to make this fun. COVID's not fun, so let's just make it fun. We've put together essentially a cyber haunted house. So we're going to try to walk through some of that and really, get through some of the tough issues that everyone's facing with cybersecurity today. We all know that there's a mountain of issues that are on the horizon for people that are specializing in security and IT. And we're starting to see extremely sophisticated attacks targeting, zero-day vulnerabilities and finding avenues of penetration that were once somewhat difficult to find or exploit. And a lot of this is being done in a completely automated fashion. And many of it is being done through paid services. Attackers can pay platforms to essentially find targets for infection. So things are definitely a little bit spooky from that perspective. And then we've got the ultra aware social engineering, which pretty much no one can protect themselves from. It's kind of a pain because humans are the worst. And all we can do is educate. Educate. And so, people are starting to get smart about the ways that you can address some of these issues, but ultimately we've got a long, really long road ahead, keeping everybody safe. And the one that's really starting to bite people in the coccyx, something like that, bone, cloud misconfiguration. How many times have you heard about, I put all my customer data in an S3 bucket and then forgot that I made it public? And there you go. Everybody's got your data. So you got to really work on that. You got to really work hard to make sure that you've identified all of the various different ways that you can protect your data with cloud services and avoid the pitfalls that can be so easily fallen into. One of my specialties is getting the people falling into the pitfalls. All right, here we go. So we've got these super scary statistics that we're going to give everybody a quick peek at. I promise that the majority of today is going to be about addressing some of these issues, right? We're not trying to scare you guys into anything particularly, but there's a lot of stuff that everyone's facing. There's a lot of ways that customers are finding themselves, under attack and breaches that are occurring that probably shouldn't be occurring. And I think that COVID has made all of this much, much worse for all of us, right? The data is even more dispersed than it was. Access to that data is harder to configure, more easily to misconfigure and make mistakes. And ultimately, we're in a position where, organizations are struggling from the business angle, from a technology challenge angle, and this is ripe for security vulnerabilities to occur and for attackers to, really take advantage of organizations. So with that, we're going to transition into a little bit of storytelling. And I'm going to bring in Bharath to give us some really, really scary examples of how some organizations have fallen victim.
Oh, thank you, William. So, the first one we want to talk about is really about crypto mining. Crypto mining, if you're not familiar with it, it's using assets to create cryptocurrency. I mean, that's generically what crypto mining is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. There's ways to do it, The reason it becomes bad is when someone hijacks your systems to do it, or if they're using, if they're being done unbeknownst to the organization, or, and that can be from people inside the organization doing it, or external threats leveraging your systems. Remember back, well, this is probably for me, back in middle school and high school, there was this experiment where it was a big distributed system, and you could allow your extra CPU cycles research to be used for alien threat detection or alien discovery. Well, it was around 20-25 years ago. It's happening again, and it's never really went away. But what we did is we actually can't necessarily stop crypto mining, can't necessarily prevent it. Without all the preventative controls in place, stuff still gets through. So what do? You got to find it once it's there. And there's some telltale signs, right? If you look like, we know who the bad guys are. So when we see outbound communications to known bad IPs, we can see lateral movement across specific ports. Those are things that we know to look for. So when all of the instrumented triggers are in place, a lot of the preventative controls wouldn't think anything of it because they're allowed actions. But when you see a lot of bad examples or a lot of situations happening in series, you start seeing a string of incidents, you can start pulling that back in and start to identify behaviors. Now, the crazy part is in this case, we found out that it was actually a CIO using their own systems for crypto mining. And when we brought that up to the CISO, everybody went dark on us. And then when they came back a couple months later, we found out there was an entire new CIO organization in place. So, it's not necessarily, I think William said it, right? It's not necessarily all about stopping it or preventing it. You know what? If it's going to happen, man, I would really like to know as soon as it starts happening so I can contain a lot of that damage. The next example we really want to talk through has to do about password protection. We talked about phishing being a problem. Well, you know what? You're always going to have that person who accidentally does something, accidentally clicks on a link. In this case, again, things that Alert Logic is detecting. Well, we detected a lot of anomalous admin activity. And again, anomalous doesn't mean good or bad. Anomalous just means, hey, this isn't normal. We go take a look at it and see what's going on. We saw a lot of admin accounts being created. And again, we don't know why any of this is happening. We know that it's happening. So immediately within our 15-minute SLA, we're on the phone to the customer saying, hey, look, there's a lot of weird things going on. Are you seeing that? They said, yeah, but we don't know what it is. Hey guys, just change the password. And while all this was going on, we saw new admin accounts being created, which bumps up the severity of these problems. And, when they did the root cause analysis on it, they found out that somebody posted code up to GitHub, but what was actually posted contained a password. Now, from a preventative standpoint, I've worked with organizations where they'll implement DLP and they'll look for specific mainframe passwords. They'll look for sensitive keys that they can then go trigger against and block. But if you didn't invest in that, and by the way, I'm not advocating DLP everywhere because it brings its own challenges. But if you didn't have that there because the cost of prevention was worse than the cure, you can solve for it on the detection side. And really that's what we were able to find. And what happened after that was not necessarily a form of DLP, but a lot more education, a lot more training, and a lot more rigor around using variables and not hard coding things in code. So as another example where, can you imagine if this is your environment and you run into something like that? How do I get back from it? And the other thing that particular organization had to do was really reassess what all is going out to the cloud, so they could then take stock of all of their workloads and then start to, for their own security and their own risk and their own tolerances, figure out what they wanted to move forward. Third, now this was rough. So you all heard the words about spoofing. And this situation happened. So an email was sent to an employee from the CIO with the request for an operational dashboard. And, hey, I'm going to be traveling. So if you post it here, we'll be good. So, if I get a note from my CIO and it's something that falls within things that I normally do, I could very easily let my guard down. And that's what this employee did. Click the link to go upload it, which nobody ever actually wanted that data anyway. It was just a place where they can go download malware. Well, again, right, we saw a spike in traffic from foreign IPs. Our threat intel team instrumented against that. Our SOC noticed it. And then we saw it going from one destination to many destinations. And we noticed that pattern. And it turned out to be a polymorphic malware, but we recognized the pattern. And because this particular client had some of our, a designated security analyst that had familiarity with that environment or familiar with their environment, they were actually able to say, hey, look, we know what's going on here because we've seen this with other people. It looks a lot like this. These are the remediation steps you need to go do. And again, we helped them get through that problem. We actually, ran a couple of dark web scans just to ensure that during that period, nothing happened. And we did it subsequently, in the following weeks, just to make sure, again, that exposure didn't cause any other downstream problems. But the resolution here, again, it still involves more training, right? Self-testing program. We did it. I got trapped by our phishing filter. It was a COVID-19 update, which again, if you looked at some of the stats from before, fortunately for me, it was our internal IT that was running it. But I got caught from it, and then when my boss shows up with that smug look on his face, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, you failed some phishing scam. Time for you to take the extra special training." I've become a lot more diligent about it. But again, even the most well-intentioned people can make mistakes. And again, it's all about having the right detection service because no amount of prevention can actually solve that problem. So those are the three examples we've run into. We see this, we see examples, left, right, up, and down from here. But these are some scary ones that we've encountered in our SOC that we've helped our clients get through. So with the last two, I want to turn it back over to William, and he's going to, I'm sorry, the scary guy with the skull mask on, and he's going to help carry us through.
Yes, I would prefer if you would refer to me as Skull Master 3000. So, all right, here we go. So I'm going to talk about our last two super spooky examples. And I'll start off with our all-time favorite, my personal favorite, ransomware. It's a real pain in the eye socket. I don't know. So, for those of you that don't know, the SamSam virus infected the city of Atlanta a couple of years ago and really just did a ton of damage. For many of you, some of you may work in state and local government. Everybody knows that you're understaffed and underfunded, and security is not always top of the list. But this is a perfect example of what that can mean for a local government or a city in the face of the threats that people find themselves dealing with today. And in this specific example, not only did they exfiltrate a ton of sensitive data, I think we mentioned here, court scheduling, more than scheduling, but like data about court, proceedings. They shut down the airport's Wi-Fi, disrupted all kinds of abilities to do tax payments and things like that. I mean, it's pretty much a worst case scenario, nearly worst case scenario for the city. Unpatched systems, man. You gotta patch your stuff. I know what I'm saying is hard to do. It's not easy. We see it all the time with our clients with, 5,000, 10,000 vulnerabilities, most of which are patches that need to be applied. So, in this specific case, I don't know that anybody's ever going to be able to tell, but what they did find, and I think this is the really interesting piece of data out of this, the city spent $17 million just on emergency funding authorizations to bring in consultants and experts and tools to help the remediation, right? That has no bearing on total cost, right? Brand damage, I mean, mistakes that were made, who knows? They may still be recovering from that to some extent. Vulnerability management is important. Patching is important. You have to take steps to ensure that your systems are protected, because prevention is the best cure, right? You have to prevent these types of attacks, not rely on detecting them. All right, and then the last one. So this is a very, hard to speak about example. Is it happened at a business that I was in at the time, and the company essentially was doing VPNs to critical systems and work from home. Everybody's doing that today, right? This is in the days before secure access gateways and things like that, but I can't tell you how many of my customers still deploy a Cisco ASA, use the AnyConnect client, just let their end users, browse the internet from their home IP, and then talk to critical systems on the back end. And in this specific case, that split tunnel VPN was used as a pivot point for an attacker, and the laptop was already infected. And the attacker was able to go in the user's home connection and then route themselves to backend critical systems and access confidential data, payment data, right? So it's important that in the world of COVID, in the world of work from home, which is probably where we're going to be for a long time in some capacity, you have to get your remote access under control. You have to be able to understand who's connecting, where are they connecting from, what are they connecting with. All of these things are important, and it is critical that everybody takes steps to address that. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about solutions, and I'm going to turn it back over to Bharath real quick and let him kind of walk through some of these different ways to address these issues.
So let's talk about managed detection and response. And I think William nailed it. If you have perfect prevention, you don't have to rely on detection. And I'm hoping that most organizations don't rely on detection and response. They're definitely backstops for when the preventative controls don't work. And obviously patching is a super important one. But a lot of times, we walk into organizations and, we'll have a discussion with them. And, that discussion will go, hey, do you believe you're 100% secure? And I'm not even joking. Sometimes we get the answer of, yes, we do. We believe we are. And, you're like, really? Do you really believe that you're 100% secure? And then, you start having to question security maturity. But it's a polarizing question. I was actually shocked when the first organization responded when I asked that question. So, then you go back to them and say, well, what do you do? What do you want to do about that? And it's like, well, we've got a budget and an RFP for all of these things. And, then you ask the question. I said, look, this is what you've been doing for years, right? Yep. Do you feel safer now than you did before? So, usually they're like, not really. We just keep throwing money at it. And then we say, well, let's talk about an outcome, right? What is the outcome you want? Do you want to minimize the likelihood or the impact of a successful attack? And then, when you start talking about the outcome that it drives, hey, you start to have a lot better conversation. Oh, yeah. So I said, well, let's separate out from, the point products, the tools that you want to buy to layer on your security. Well, let's talk about this. Do you want to detect the threats and attacks before they compromise you? And this is about, vulnerability detection, understanding the CVEs, cloud configurations, like William was talking about, unprotected S3 buckets. Yeah, you want to figure out that's what's going on. And in the event all of your preventative tools let something through, well, would you like to know about that before they compromise you? Well, yeah. Okay, well, then do you want to quickly mitigate those threats that are working against you? And I think the answer to that is also, well, yes, I think that is what I would like to do. And then you start asking the question, are you currently set up the way, you were talking about going in to buy more products? Are you set up to take advantage of that? How do you want to acquire it? Do you want to buy all these tools and do it yourself in what you've already told me isn't really the most effective route? Or do you want to explore a managed approach for security? So really it's a very easy way to frame it, but once you start turning it around into what this point product can do for you, and you look at what is my organization's outcome I'm trying to achieve, it becomes a much easier discussion that really puts the eye on the prize. It doesn't celebrate interim successes. Now, from an alert logic standpoint, we really wanted to help define MDR. Like, what does that mean? Ultimately, it's reducing the likelihood or impact of a successful attack, right? I can't stop somebody from attacking you, but I can reduce the likelihood of impact of a successful attack. Absolutely. That's the whole point of detection. But can I do that if I'm only looking, at the network, or if I'm only looking at the endpoint? No, you need to have visibility and coverage across all your assets. The cool part is, as a lot of organizations are working through their digital transformation, well, if you can have a common solution in the before and after, or if you're going through that discussion about trying to figure out which workloads I need to move to a different environment, wouldn't it be great if you had the same underlying detection and response solution that worked across both? Are you beholden to somebody else's roadmap, or are you beholden to your own roadmap? Do you have your own threat researchers? Do you have your own security operations center? Do I have my own developers that are building the platform, the solution, the service that's being consumed? Or am I stitching it together from a lot of different places? We talk about augmenting technology with human intelligence. I talked about anomalies earlier. Anomaly just means something's different. Doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good. Well, do I want to give you the ability to respond? We had a question with our advisory board, and we said, hey, under what circumstance would you want to say, you know what, if this situation happens, I want you to go ahead and take care of it for me? Exactly 0 people said, I want you to do it all the time. There was always, well, it depends on the time, depends on the asset criticality, depends on the problem, what's going on. So again, I want to be able to provide those customized responses. Obviously you don't want to grow past your partner. So we need to deliver it against scale. And really, do I make it easier for you to do your job? Is all the data hidden? Can you ever get to it? Can I get to the reports? Can I get to the dashboards? No, we want to make it easy for you to work as our partner. Now, if you want us to do everything, we can do that. But you know what? If you want a little bit more finger on the pulse of what's going on, we're going to give you that ability to go do that too. And in order to go do all of it, again, it's the round-the-clock visibility. I got to operate everywhere you do, and then I have to have the people to be able to actually do something about it. And that's really how we've framed out managed detection and response. Now, your next question is, all right, that sounds cool. Well, how do you do that? Well, again, it goes back to that combination of the platform. Are we on-prem? Are we in the cloud? It's all about those security researchers. How much data have you been doing? There's a fascinating concept here called community defense. It's if there is a known exploit out there, and we see that vulnerability being exploited, remote code execution attacks, whatever it is. If you have that same environment and you're under Alert Logic's protection, we're going to work with pnap, and we're going to say, hey, you know what? One of your clients has this vulnerability that's currently being exploited. Now, they're not currently being exploited, but they're ripe for the picking. You really need to go have that conversation with them now. And so that's part of the proactive communication that we've got. And again, we're only able to do that because it's our instrumentation, our partner community, our researchers, and really it's our SOC providing that round the clock visibility. There's someone's hand is on the steering wheel at all times. So if you're about to, something terrible is about to happen at 3 in the morning and you've got 9x5 coverage, well, you don't have to worry about that with a partner that operates 24/7, 365. So, you know, that's really our point of view around the MDR market, a little bit on how we deliver it. And you know, it's not just us, right? I mean, we recognize what's going on, but the analyst community is also recognizing it. They're seeing it. And you know, today it's a shift from do it yourself to MDR. It's a shift from traditional MSS services to MDR, because I think, and this is, you know, really what we're seeing is that a lot of the ways of doing things just aren't working anymore. The size and sophistication of organizations that are turning to MDR is growing. You know, it used to be MDR was only for the people who didn't really know what they were doing, but that's not all that we're seeing. We're seeing more and more security sophisticated organizations looking to basically outsource a certain portion of their security estate with a partner that can go do it. So, you know, it's about how do we work with you? How do we partner with you? As the same way you guys are partnering with organizations like pnap. So really, you know, why did we do a manifesto? And it's the last piece here. The market is a little bit confusing. So really what we wanted to do was help clarify, simplify, figure out what you need to do and figure out what we need to do. And with that, you know, brings us back to William, who's going to bring us home for the day. But, you know, I really want to thank you for just, you know, understanding where we sit with MDR, how we've helped define it, what we find. Gosh, those spooky issues, those spooky incidents, those challenges that organizations are running to. I mean, that's what we're here to help with. William, please.
Bharath, I've never seen a Care Bear speak more intelligently about the security challenges that we all face. So congratulations for being the expert security Care Bear. And, you know, I think for everybody on the call, the reason that we're partnered with AlertLogic is to help customers not only in our infrastructure services, but also on their prem, in the public cloud, trying to give them 360 coverage of their entire environment. But one of the things that makes us unique in the way that we partner with AlertLogic is that we've been able to combine their capabilities with our security teams and our infrastructure products that are specifically designed to house critical, you know, mission critical and sensitive and compliant data. Our data security cloud product has been in the market now for a little bit over 4 years, and we are helping customers with mission critical sensitive data, you know, consume cloud services in a default secure way, and are bringing a suite of tools from our partners that they can consume, that you as a customer can consume, and up your game instantly as part of your journey to the cloud. And that is where I think the true value is added, right? The place that you say, I want a cloud strategy, I want to be able to shift from CapEx to OpEx. I'm unsure about this transition into a cloud service and what that means for me from a price, performance, security, and compliance perspective. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve with great partners like AlertLogic and others. We're bringing capabilities that you have on-prem, and we're delivering them in a completely hybrid way, or as a potential landing point for a full-scale migration, and helping you obtain the technologies and security resources that you need to protect your business in the process. For those of you that don't know, I know the name can be a little bit misleading, but we stopped being a data center about 11 years ago, right after we opened the doors to the first facility. And ultimately, we built a worldwide infrastructure platform. That is the message. Secure by design is a core tenet of our company. Secure infrastructure as a service is our differentiator. The way that we build our products and services, we're focusing on security. And at the same time, we want to bring cutting edge technologies to the bear. We want you to be able to take the solutions that we have in an independent fashion and build the things that you want to build and not be saddled with the things that you feel like you've already addressed. If you think you've addressed security, come on in. We'll just take you. You can have infrastructure. There's a lot of really good reasons to do that. If you agree with Bharath and his first slide, which is maybe you don't have everything under control, at least I hope you don't, then we have great solutions. We can deliver that wherever you are. And we're establishing ourselves as a leader in the security-focused infrastructure space. And so I want to take some time for questions, but before I do that, I'm going to launch a poll. I'm going to throw it up there so that my marketing team is happy. And let's see if everybody gets it here. It takes like 5 seconds and locks up my laptop in the process. Dun, 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 dun. All right, the poll is up. Please weigh in on whether you would like to have some conversations about what you're facing from a security perspective. And I'll give it a little bit more time to vote here since I know that everybody's intently paying attention. And if you're not, I may send one of my minions after you. So let's get it up to 50% voted. There's quite a few people on the call, so maybe people are considering, maybe Bharath, maybe they're going through your first slide in their head. Do I feel like I've got everything under control? All right, okay, I'll go ahead and shut it down here and move to Q&A. I think this one, Bharath, I think this is for you. So let me go ahead and throw it out there. How is AlertLogic leveraging next generation technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning to make threat detection and intrusion detection more accurate?
Well, I would say if you roll it back a couple of years, everything was very manual. And everything, I mean, even if you look at what most organizations have to deal with themselves, right? It's at analyst speed. Really, part of this anomaly detection that we're talking about, we're strongly leveraging machine learning to move at a computer speed, to process a computer's ability to process, but still augment that with the human to make the decision. So part of it is increasing the fidelity of the alerts that we find. It's enriching data to the point where an analyst's job is easier. So it's all of those things that drive efficiencies. That's part of what we're doing. But what we learned is when we started really doubling down on it, it allows us to look at a problem from multiple different angles. So now you'll be able to compare things better over time. You'll be able to compare things with other of your contemporaries. So it allows that volume of data to be processed and distilled in a manner that drives significantly more efficient, but also different outcomes.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about artificial intelligence and the types of things that it's allowing businesses to see about the data that they have. And we were having this chat in the context of online betting and kind of betting trends and things like that. And I hypothesized that betting fraud or, you know, some game fixing, things like that, are probably going to be a thing of the past because of artificial intelligence, because it's insanely good at picking up on anomalies. And as you apply
I would bet.
Yeah.
I would bet that the people setting the lines were probably the early adopters of AI.
Yeah, for sure. They are, for sure. But the fraud detection side, it's just getting so good. And they're starting to share data. That's the other thing. They're starting to share data between them. But security and getting these types of threats under control at scale, right? It's not just about what you're seeing with one customer. It's about what you're seeing with all of your customers. And, you know, finding patterns in different ways that people are being attacked. I think that there's a lot of work to do, but we've come light years from where we used to be. The second question we had was, in the context of the Data Security Cloud product, can you talk a little bit about what happens if something was to occur? Some type of vulnerability, some type of compromise incident was occurred. You know, how does that work? And so the way that we work with AlertLogic is we're delivering the tools to you as a customer. We're advising you on the implementation. We're advising you about the kind of medium high critical events. We're helping you get your patching under control. We're really being your kind of strategic security advisor along the way. And then if something critical is to occur, we're teamed up with AlertLogic to actively contact our customer. They reach out, they initiate that call, and they begin working with you and us in tandem on the problem. And I can't think of a better way to address this, because so often in a public cloud, in a hyperscaler, AWS, Azure, there's only so much that AlertLogic can do. They can't always get to the core engineering team to check this thing or that thing. They're relying on the tools that are there. And in our world, we're partnered together directly, right? To give you that infrastructure security, network security, and application security, all with one throat to choke, or spine to choke, if you will.
William, would you agree that part of this is, for anyone who's listening, like, you're never going to be alone, right? You're never tackling this problem on your own.
It's legit. The most important thing that this partnership brings to the market is that you're not going to be facing these threats by yourself, right? And you've got a cloud service, a home and a destination that's actively, proactively partnering to make your world better from a security perspective. And that's the whole idea of the phoenixNAP Data Security Cloud. And improving security is the whole idea of AlertLogic's MDR manifesto. And so I'm really proud of this partnership. I hope that everybody enjoyed the content today. We tried to make it fun. I will change outfits next time. Maybe we'll do something around Christmas. I'll put on a beard and be Santa Claus, or maybe I'll let Bharath be a Santa Claus Care Bear.
Go get that right now if you'd like.
All right, everybody. If there's no more questions, we're going to end it here. I want to thank everybody for coming out today, and be safe, and everyone be healthy. Thank you. Have a great one.